warm stone, desert reds, and gold. This is Painted Canyon. Today's creative color challenge design is Painted Canyon, a pendant inspired by warm desert tones, red jasper, picture jasper, and gold accents. So let me show you what's included in this month's collection, and then we'll get started. The month of March 2026, we actually had two winners in the Creative Color Challenge. We had this one plus the other one that you get to vote on. So this is the first one that's going to come out, and this is the first palette. This is palette number 45. And then later in the week or next week, I'll have the other one come out. So make sure that you're subscribed and that you have your notifications turned on, so that way when you know when the other video and collection is available on my Etsy shop. So here is the pendant that we're going to make from this palette. And this is actually a pendant that is reversible, hence the reason why I put toggles in the collection as the clasp rather than lobster clasps, because a lot of y'all know that I like to use lobsters on my necklaces and stuff. It's just easier, I feel like, more secure. But I wanted this one to be reversible, so there's the front side of it, and then there's the back side. So you get the different look if you just choose you want to look like this today in one day, and then the next day you wear it, you can wear it with your red jasper showing. So thought it was kind of interesting, fun, so I made it to where you can actually do it as a reversible pendant. Alright, so let's get started. I already have just a comfortable length of thread, and you get the beige thread with this one this month because of the colors of the beads and stuff that we're using. We're going to be doing circular peyote. I move that out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in everything. So for the first part in circular peyote, we still do the raw stitch, not peyote, it's circular raw. Sorry, circular raw stitch. You still do the raw stitch, but then we use I'll end up using the right hand side to continue on and then make a circle with it. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a minute. So the bottom part of our right angle unit is going to be a 15, a bicone of 15. The sides are always going to be one of our picture jaspers, so 6mm picture jasper. I'm just probably going to call it 6mm jasper, just so I don't mess up with the words. And then the top is going to be an increase-decrease is what I call it. So I'll pick up all the beads, and then I'll show you what I mean. So that's usually what I call an increase-decrease, when you have different size beads, and you start off with your 15, your 11, your 8, then your 3mm CZ, then your 8, 11, and 15. So that's your increase-decrease. So that's the top. And then, like we said, the side is always going to be a picture jasper. So we're going to pick up that one. So this first one, you always start off with all 4 of your sides. And then from here on out, we're only going to add 3 until the very end when we connect it together. So now I've brought them all the way down to the end of the thread, just holding on to a comfortable amount. We're going to go back through all of these beads one more time. Oops, I was off camera, sorry. We're going to go back through these beads one more time. and come out before we get, so basically we're going back through the 3 sides. So I just went back through, well, I guess we're going through all 4 sides. I'm so making this confusing. I'm sorry. It's early in the morning. I'm trying to get this done, and it's early in the morning recording. So we're going to go through all 4 sides. We're going to end up down here on this picture jasper, the second one. So, and of course I am recording, so holding this is a little awkward. That's okay. We'll get through this. We'll get through the early morning recording. Now here you can make a choice. You can tie off if you wanted to. You can actually tie this together and keep it tight. But we're going to go through these beads here in the center portion. So it'll be the 15s and the bicones a couple more times, so you may not even have to worry about it. So for here on out, until we get all 6 of our picture jasper on, we're going to be doing just 3 sides. So we've already got the left-hand side. So we need to add the bottom, the right-hand side, and the top on this one. So the bottom is the 15 bicone 15. Your side is always the picture jasper, and your top is the increase decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a 3mm CZ, and then decrease back down to your 15. Like that. So now that we have the other 3 sides on our thread, so now we need to round this out. So we're coming out of the bottom part of that picture jasper. We need to go in the same direction as the thread's going in right now. So go from the top to the bottom through that bead. And then when you pull that down, it's going to look something like that. So basically what we're doing is that this is going to end up rounding out a little bit more. It doesn't look like it's rounding at the moment, but it will here in just a moment once we get a couple more on. And then with this being, the bottom part being a smaller portion and the top part being a larger portion, that's going to help it go into a circle a lot easier. So to get it set up for the next one, we're going to go through the bottom, because we're sitting down there at the bottom, and then we're going to come out the picture jasper. So I'll show you one more time how to add this, because it's a little bit different, and then I'll let you go continue on until we get to that, until you add your 6th one, and then I'll show you how to connect them together. So now we're at the top, so we need to add the top. So it's an increase, decrease. And of course these CZs are really hard to find the whole of the bead sometimes. And since I am further away from my face with the beads, it's kind of hard to see to begin with. Alright, so increase, decrease. Our side, which is always the jasper, and then our bottom, which is the 15 bicone 15. And I keep throwing things around my mat. So now that we got the other 3 sides on, we're coming out at the top of the left-hand side of this unit. So we're going to go from the bottom to the top. So you're always going to follow your thread path through your jasper. So then that puts your 4th jasper on. So now we need to get back over here. So we just follow our thread paths and go through the top, the increase and the decrease, and then end up coming out through your jasper here on the right hand side. Whoops. And try not to get wrapped around your tools that are off camera. Alright, so that's 4 of your beads on. So go ahead and add the last 2, and then come back and I'll show you how to connect it together. Alright, when you have your 8 beads on, not 6, I don't know why I couldn't count earlier, but there's actually a total of 8 beads. We're going to have 8 in this pendant. Goodness gracious. I caught myself after I had stopped recording. I went, wait, I have more than just 2 beads left. Alright. So after you get your 8 beads on, now we need to connect number 8 to number 1. So you should be coming out, and there's Captain. You should be coming out of the bottom part of number 8, jasper. So to connect it to number 1, we need to add the bottom portion of this. So just pick up your 15 bicone and 15. So like I said, we're coming out of the bottom part of number 8, so we're going to go from the bottom to the top of number 1. Now he's going to be pitiful. Alright, so now we need to connect 1 to 8 again by adding the top. So that's your increase, decrease. And then try to find one. Oh, there's one with the hole. I can see it right there. There we go. And then there's your increase, decrease, so that's your top. So you're coming out of the top of number 1, and you need to round it through by going through the top to the bottom of number 8. And then once you do that, now you have a complete circle. Now, of course, it's all wobbly and wonky looking, so it's perfectly fine. We're gonna get that fixed. So let's get started with the next step right away. So we're coming out of the bottom of the jasper. I'm going to go ahead and go towards the left. I'm going to go through the 15 and just the bicone sitting down here on the bottom. So I'm not going to go through that second 15. So I'm going through the first 15 and the bicone. And then pull that tight. Now we're going to make this a little bit tighter down here. We're going to pick up an 11-0 and we're going to go through, make sure it's focused. Here we go. We're going to pick up an 11-0. Then we're going to go through these two 15s, but I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So this second 15 right here, I'm going to go up that 15, so basically towards the jasper. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down, and then that should sit, once it stops getting wound up, that should sit your 11-0. There we go, like that. And then I'm going to go down the other 15 over here off to this side. Oops, I went under the thread. I'm trying to go over the thread. Really doesn't matter, but just like that. So then that puts your two 15s basically sitting underneath your jasper. Now we need to move on to this crystal and do the same thing. So we're going to continue on through the 11-0 and through the crystal. Don't go through any of the seed beads. By the way, he's being kennel trained, and he doesn't like to be kennel trained sometimes. So he's perfectly fine. He's just being pitiful. Doesn't help that the trash people just came by and picked up the trash, so now he's awake again. So, alright, so I have another 11-0, so I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to go up the 15 that's on the left-hand side, so towards the jasper. Pull it down like this, and then I'm going to go down the 15 on the right hand side without going through the crystal, like that. And then move on through your 11 and your crystal to get set up for the next one. So go ahead and complete this portion here, and then I would suggest to go through just your 11s and crystals one more time, and then meet me back and I'll show you how to add the red jasper in the center. Okay, so after reinforcing, you should be coming out of one of the 11-0s here. Now this is where you have to kind of decide. Now the center of your pendant is going to go in between two of your picture jaspers. So you'll have to decide if you want to use these two as your top and bottom, or if you have some that are more similar, kind of sort of like this one, where those two would be, you know, better. If there's some sort of symmetry that you're looking for, that type of thing. Then just to make sure that you're coming out of the right hand side 11-0 on the right hand side of the center. So this was bead number 1, so when I went back around again, I always count my beads, and then went back through bead number 1 again. So this is bead number 1, so I'm just going to leave it just like this. Now this is also where I'm going to differ just slightly too. On this pendant, on the original pendant, I ended up only adding just focus. I ended up just adding 1 seed bead, and I'll show you how to do this in just a second, but on this one we're going to go ahead and add 2 seed beads. I just did it off screen just to see what it would look like, and I think I like that a little bit better. So this is where it can differ too. You can always use 11-0s if you want to use 11-0s. You can probably even use an 8-0 in this part too. But I'm going to use 2 of my 15s. We're going to pick up 2 15s. We're going to go ahead and pick up one of the CZs. we're going to pick up the red jasper, which this one's kind of cool. It's got like a circle on one side. So pretty neat. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Pick up another CZ. And then 2 more 15s. And then pull that down. So we're coming out, so we're going to be going through 4 different 11-0s. So we're coming out of this 11-0 up here at the top on the right. We're going to end up going through the one on the left. Then we're going to use the 2 11-0s that are down here on the bottom too, that are directly across. So I'm first going to go through the one on the bottom left, and this is only for tension. I just know my tension well enough to know that if I go to the right over here, then it's going to pull everything over to the right a little too much with the way that I'm doing this. So I just know my tension well enough to know that I'm going to have to go to the opposite side. If you're a loose beater, then you can probably go ahead and do the right hand side and just do the same process that I'm going to show you here in a second, but just go to the right hand side. I just know I'm a tight beater, so left is where I'm going. I'm going to go back through, so I'm coming out of that 11-0 down there. I'm going to go back through the 2 15s, the CZ, the jasper, and the CZ on the other side. So we're basically sharing the CZs and the jasper. Come on. Find that little itty bitty small hole. You can do it, needle. There it is. And then when you pull this tight, just make sure you don't have a whole lot of thread showing. See how there's a big gap of thread right there? And then there's not much down here on the bottom. So I'm going to tug on this just a little bit to get it to tighten up down there, and then I'm going to tighten my working thread. And then eventually it should tighten the rest of this. Come on now. Don't make a liar out of me. Alright, tighten that guy up. Tighten that guy up. Alright, it's a little loose, but it's fine. We're going to go back through these 15s here in a little bit anyway. Alright, so I'm coming out of that. Man, that's bothering me. Okay, hold on. I gotta fix it. It's bugging me. Okay, that's the working thread. So we're going to tighten that guy up. And then we pull on that. And then that should get rid of most of it. Alright. Nope. Why are you being difficult? Of course you're going to be difficult. Okay, so we're going to loosen this up. And this should be the thread that is being difficult. There we go. So I'm pulling on this little portion off to the left. I'm pulling on the left-hand side of that right now. And then I'm going to keep that as tight as I can. And then I'm going to pull on the working thread. There we go. That looks so much better. Alright, so that's how you can tighten. Oh gosh, I hope that was in focus. Well, at least I kind of went through it verbally. Alright, so let's get this part done before it decides to loosen up again. Alright, pick up 2 more of your 15s. You're coming out of that CZ up here. And then we're going to go to the top left 11-0. And we're going to wrap through that one. So it doesn't matter. You can go from the left to the right, right to the left. We're going to circle around it anyway. So it doesn't matter. Just make sure you circle around the whole thing. And see how it sits the beads right there. Kind of right along the bicone. So go back up through the 2 15s. And then we're going to go back down to the bottom and do our last little section. So go back through the CZ, the jasper, and the CZ on the other side. And then we add the last 2 15s down here. And then wrap around that. And go back up through your 15s. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back through the CZ, the jasper, the CZ. And then we're going to come back around. We're going to go around this, the bicones and the crystals, but instead of going through the bicone here at the top and the bicone down here at the bottom, we're going to skip those and go up these 15s and add an extra 15 at the top. So go ahead and go down the 2 15s that are on the left hand side. You can go to the right side if you want to. I'm just going to the left. I'm going to go through that 11-0 that's underneath there. And then proceed on through the bicones and the 11s again. Just gets another thread path through all of this. And then when I come out over here, I'm going to proceed through the 11-0 that my jasper is attached to and the 15s are attached to, but I'm not going to go through that bicone. I'm going to go up the 15-0s sitting here. I'm going to pick up another 15, and then I'm going to go down the 15s on the other side. And then that will create just a small little picot of 15s that's wrapping around your crystal sitting there. So go ahead and go through this portion of your pendant, add your 15-0 setting up here, and then meet me back, and then we'll start working on the back side of the pendant. Okay, when you get done with that part, you should be coming out of your 15-0 up here at the top. So this is the second of the 15-0s. Now we need to get up to this CZ crystal up here at the top of this one. What I'm going to end up doing is putting the shells on the back now, and I want my shells to go straight up and down this way, and then this way. So it kind of looks like a cross, or, you know, northeast, southwest. That's kind of what I was thinking, was something like that. So the first one that we're going to put on is going to be on this plane. So we need to get through that CZ. So I'm currently coming out of that 15-0. I'm going to go ahead and go through the 11-0 sitting here. And since I'm beading from right to left through this 11-0, I'm going to go up the 15 that's on the left hand side. Then I'm going to go through the jasper and then come out the top up here. Just like that. So now you're set up. I'm going to flip it to the back now. So now you're set up to start doing the back side. Alright, and then this is when your pendant is going to start flattening out like this. So if you want to, you can do what I just did. See how it's more cupped inwards now? And then that makes it a lot easier to be able to get your shells on it back here in the back. So I'm coming out of this jasper right here. We need to be coming out of this CZ. So go ahead and get to that CZ. Then we're going to add our first shell. So for our shell, we're going to pick up a 15 and 11, pick up one of the shells, and then the opposite, 11 and a 15. Focus, there we go. So we're coming out of the left-hand side of that CZ. We're going to go from the left to the right of the bicone down here at the bottom. And just the bicone, don't go through any of the other seed beads. And then now we're going to do something similar to what we did to the red jasper. So we're going to pick up a 15 and an 11, go back through the shell bead, and then make sure everything is tight, and then pick up an 11 and a 15, and then proceed through the CZ at the top from the right to the left. If you can find the hole. Sometimes this part gets a little difficult because the beads are so close together, it's kind of hard to find the hole sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and proceed through the 8, the 11, and the 15. Wait for that to focus. There we go. And then when you pull tight, that should put your shell bead on the back like that. So when you're in between the two 15-0s right here, I'm going to go ahead and add another 15 because I'm moving on to the next CZ. I'm going to go through, I'm going to bypass the second one because this is not where I'm going to put a second one here. I'm going to put one over here. So we're going to go through one of the CZs. We're going to skip one basically. So continue on until you get to that 15-0, and then you need to add a 15 in between. just to kind of close up that gap. And then proceed through the next CZ. So this one is the one that we're going to add our shell bead. So it is a 15, 11, a shell bead, an 11, and a 15. We're coming out of the left hand side of the CZ. We're going to go from the left to the right of the bicone, down below it, skipping all the beads, all the seed beads. Then we're going to pick up a 15 and 11, and I'm holding the shell bead as I'm going back through it, and that usually kind of helps with my tension to make sure that things are going to sit just about right. And then up here at the top, we finish it out by going an 11 and a 15. Go back through that CZ once you can find the hole. What I'm doing is I'm kind of moving the 8/0 off to the right a little bit, and then I'm moving the needle towards the left, and I usually find the hole that way, if you can kind of get it in there. And then I like to try to get through as many beads as I can, so I'm not going through so many beads all the time. That's just me, that's just how I bead, so that's what it looks like that. And then now, when you pull tight on that, that gets your second shell on. So go ahead and continue around the rest of the outer portion right here, and then we'll start filling in this the inner portion down here, and we're almost done with our pendant. When you get all these done, don't forget to go back through that last 11 or 15/0 sitting here, so don't forget to add your last 15 in between your first little section and your last little section. So you should be coming out. I am actually just coming out of the 8/0 sitting here. I'm going to actually cheat because I don't want to put too many thread paths through the CZ. Sometimes if you put too many of the thread paths in, you might crack it, and I don't want to risk that right now. So I'm just coming out of the 8/0 at the moment. I'm going to go down this first shell bead that we did. So I'm going down the 15, the 11, and the shell bead. So there's going to be a little bit of thread there, and absolutely nobody's going to see that because it's so close to each other. Then I'm going to continue beading in a counterclockwise fashion. So I'm going to go through just the 11/0. That's down here on the bottom, but on the left-hand side. So I'm going from the right to the left of that 11/0. Now we're going to start connecting these, so that way this back side will actually be a little bit more firm, and it won't flop around as much. So to connect it, I am adding an 8, 11, and an 8. So we're coming out of that left-hand bead. We're going to go up the right-hand bead of the next shell, and just the 11/0. We're skipping those 15s. So now you're in between those two 11s. When you're in between the two 11s, we're going to pick up another 11, and then go down the bead on the left. I'll show that a little bit closer so you can see what I did. So we added the 8, 11, 8, went up the 11/0, added another 11/0, went down the next one. So then this is 8, 11, 8, and then go up this one right here. I'm probably just going to do the back side with you because it's pretty quick, pretty simple. We're just filling this all in to make it more stable in the back and make it easier for the pendant to not wobble around as much. And then after we reinforce this here on the back side, then we just have to add our bail and finish out the necklace, and your necklace is complete. So like I had said in the beginning, I did this, I put toggles in the collection so that way it was a lot easier for someone to be able to, oh that's a thin one, to be able to use this as a reversible pendant. But you can always use lobster clasps, which is what I'd prefer when I'm making necklaces, is lobster clasps. Alright, so I'm adding my last of my 11/0s here. I'm going to go ahead and proceed through, go ahead and proceed through the 11/0 to add this last one, and then go through the 8, 11, 8, go up the 11/0, that's on the right hand side over here, and that's not going to work very well. So I'm going to just do it like that. Go up the 11-0 here, and then I'm going to end up coming out of the middle 11-0, so that new 11-0 that we added on this last round. And then now we're going to connect all those new 11-0s with just 2 8-0s. So I'm coming out of this 11-0 below the shell. I'm going to go to the next one and just go through that center 11-0. I'm starting to run out of thread. Hopefully I have enough to finish this. Pick up another 2 seed beads, go through the next one, and then I'm kind of giving it a nice little tug every time I do this. 2 more seed beads, and then 2 more seed beads. And then just like any other type of bezeling that you do when you're using thread and needle, you always really want to go through that last row at least one more time. Okay, my beads are kind of popping through weird. There we go. You always want to go through that last round at least one more time. So I'm going to go through just those beads that I added and the 11-0s. You can go just through the 8-0s if you wanted to. It'll help kind of tighten it up there too. But I can get through the 11-0s pretty easily, so. And then this is number 4. Alright. So now we need to figure out where our top and bottom is. So I'm coming out of one of the side beads. This is one of my top bottom ones. So I'm going to use this probably as my top, only because my starter thread is sitting here too. So I'm going to go ahead and continue through the 2 8-0s, the 11-0 that's sitting here. And then, actually I don't want to go through that 11-0. Sorry, so go through just the 2 8-0s. Yeah, you do. Hold on. Confusion has set in. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go through the 11-0, the one that we just added. Go through the 11-0 that's underneath your shell. Go through that 15 if you can find it back there. If there ends up being a little bit of a thread sitting back there, it's going to be covered up by everything, so you're not going to be able to see it. And then we want to go through that bicone, because we're trying to get up here to the top again. So, where's my bicone? Alright, there he is. So find your bicone. If this is way too confusing and you can't find the bicone, perfectly fine. You can just go back up your shell bead again. I'm just going up the bicone. It makes it a little bit easier for me to see it. Alright, so I'm through the bicone. I'm going to go through the 15 that's sitting here. And up the jasper. And then that is where we're going to do our bail. I'm having a look and see how I did my bail. Alright, so we're going to go through, we're going to skip that middle 15 that's sitting there. We're going to go through the one that's on the right hand side. So the original top portion, we're going to go through just the 15, the 11, and then come out the 8. There again, I don't want to put any more thread path through that CZ because I don't want to break it. Now we're going to make our bail. So this is where you're going to have to get your chain out. So each person got a similar type of chain. They're not the exact as this one, because this one's like a sparkly link chain, curb chain, I think is what it's called. I still can't remember half the chain names these days, but anyways, so you'll need to get your chain out, so that way your loop that you do with your seed beads is not too big and or not too small to be able to get your chain through it. So with that being the case, I'm going to use the same chain that I have on here already because I don't have it finished off yet. So with that being the case, I put, I think it was 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I put 7 of my 8-0s on there. 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm probably going to go ahead and add an 8th because it was kind of tight. And then on the back side, I did So, sorry, I should have looked at that before I started recording. I forgot to look at the bail portion. Alright, so I picked up 1 11-0 and then 8 of your 8-0s. Now, there again, like I said, it just depends on your size of your chain and how loose that you want it. So I'm coming out of this 8-0 right here. I'm going to go back down here through the 15 and the 11 that's sitting above the shell. I'm going to add an 11-0, and then I'm going to go up the 11 and the 15 on the other side. Now I'm going to go back through all 8 of our 8-0 seed beads that we just put on. And when you come down here on the front side, we want the front to look similar to the back. And I'm almost out of thread. Can I get this done? So we want the front to look similar to the back. So here on the front, we are going to go through just the 8-0. Come on now. All right, just the 8-0. That gets the front looking similar to the other side. I kept saying the back, but you want your front to look similar on either side. Now we're going to flip it to the back again, and we're going to add a couple of extra beads again. We're going to add a 15. Whoops, I put my 15s up. I forgot I needed a couple more 15s. So here is a couple. Alright, so we're going to add a 15 and an 11. And then we're going to go through these beads in the back again. The 11, or the 15, and then the 3 11s that we have around this shell bead. And then come out the 15. Actually, I skipped that 15. Hold on. You can go through the 15s. It really doesn't matter. That's fine. Whatever. It'll work too. And then we're going to add an 11 and a 15 again. And then we're going to go through from the right to the left of that 8-0 seed bead again. Then that should get you back to the front of the pendant. And with this being a bail, you're going to want to go through those beads one more time at least. I'm running out of thread, so I'm not going to be able to go through it very much more. But I need you to go through all of these beads one more time. So we're going to go back up the 11, through the 8 8-0s, back here to the back, where we're going to go down the 15. If you need to skip the 15 at this time, nobody's going to notice that there's thread sitting there. So either go through the 15, the 11, this 11 here, then this 11 and a 15, go back up through your 8s again, go back through this 11 that's on the right hand side now, proceed through the 8-0, going back to the back again. We're going to go through the 15, the 11, there again, if you can get through that 15, great. If not, then skip it, and then just go through these 3 11s, skip that other 15 if you need to, go through this 11 and a 15, and then you're set basically back to where you're sitting, where I'm sitting at right now. So what I'm going to do is show you how to tie off, and then I'll come back at a later date, later time, and get this to where it is reinforced and everything. So once you're done with all of that, you should be coming out of this 15 right here. And that being the case, we want to get back to where the starter thread is, which is just below where this jasper is at. So we're going to go through the 11-0 sitting here, just that first 15. We don't have to go through the second one. So just that first 15. Now you're directly above where your jasper's at, and so you just go straight down the jasper. And then that is where your thread is to tie off. There we go. So now you're sitting back at your starter thread, and then you just tie your knot right over left, left over right. And then you would use your thread burner and then burn down those ends too. I'm not going to, just because I'm going to have to go back in and reinforce everything one more time. So this is where you take your chain and you put it through your loop. So when you're making your loop with your 8/0s, you want to test it. I forgot to say that. You want to test it before you actually finish your loop off. So 8 of your 8/0s should be just fine as far as the loop is concerned for your bell. But then I would put this on first, the chain on first, and then finish it off, because like I said, I don't have this one finished off yet. So add your toggle and on both ends with your jump rings and everything, and then after that you would have a completed pendant and necklace. And that's the Painted Canyon Pendant, inspired by Palette 45 and one of this month's Creative Color Challenge winners. The Painted Canyon collection and kits are now available in my Etsy shop, and the second Creative Color Challenge winner for March 2026 will be coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that next design.